this episode, we're going to talk about foreign extra stout. I recently brewed one for a competition, and I've got the judges' feedback here to share with you. I'll give you the recipe so you can brew along at home, and let me know what you think in the end.
Daft Cat Brewing for Beer. Brewing and event videos.
First up, a bit of an update. I haven't been doing much brewing recently. I had an accident. What was it? Probably 2 months ago. Mangled 2 out of 3 of my fingers, one very badly. Luckily, it seems like the only permanent effect is going to be a change of shape on the one finger and complete loss of sensation at the end. But that's the story for another day. Today's about beer. Foreign extra stout in particular. Now let's get some in a glass and then we'll talk you through the recipe. There we go. I like that. Not a lot of carbonation on this bottle. This is not Cooper's PET bottles because this was brewed back in June at the height of lockdown, where it was very difficult to get everything and all I could get was non-Cooper's ones. And it seems like over the months since June, it's lost some carbonation. Thankfully, when the judging happened for the competition, it was a lot better carbonated than it is there, so it had a nice head. Lovely. Right, the beer. Our homebrew club was issued a challenge from another one. Anglian Craft Brewers and Rebel decided we were going to do much the same that Worcestershire Homebrew and Lab had already done. We were going to all brew a beer from a set list of styles. One brewer from each club brewed the same beer, and then we'll all share all the beers. So we ended up sending off 20 bottles of beer, and one went to each of the other brewers. So we had 9 styles, 2 bottles of each beer. Everyone had 18 beers, including their own. And 3 judges also got one. The style that I brewed was a foreign extra stout, one I've not brewed before. So I did some looking around on the internet, found a few different recipes, did some fudging between them, working out what I thought might work well, what we can get in the UK, what we could get at that time during lockdown as well. And this is a recipe I came up with. I'll put it up on the screen so you can see. 5,440 grams of Maris Otter, so 76.8% of the grain bill. 450 grams of flaked barley, 450 grams of roasted barley, 286 grams of chocolate, 227 grams of extra dark crystal, 227 grams of light crystal. Now, some of that is fudging about based on changes between imperial and metric measurements. Some of it is fudging about to make up for what ingredients were or were not available. So it was crisp Maris Otter. I can't remember the brand of the flaked barley, but it was just basically flaked barley. Crisp roasted barley, crisp chocolate malt, which was about 1,240 EBC. Now, the Americans have a crystal malt, which we can't get over here. The closest I could get to it was like fudging half extra dark and half light together. So there was the crystal extra dark was 127 Loverbond crisp, and the Crystal Light was 45 leather bond crisp, so 236 EBC and 88 EBC. And between them, they got, not exactly, but as close as I could do to get a middle of the range crystal malt. Hops, 28 grams of Northern Brewer for 60 minutes, 28 grams of Cascade for 30 minutes, 5 grams of yeast nutrient, just in the last 15 minutes of the boil, at the same time as half a Protofloc tablet, 28 grams of Cascade, and 1 packet of Safale English yeast, which is SO4. This was for 20, what did I do? A 20 litre batch, so about 20 to 21 litres went into the fermenter, and I got all the bottles and some left in a keg afterwards. Standard fermentation, nothing exceptional. What did we do? We mashed at, where is it on here? Standard single infusion, light body, no mash out. If I had my time over again, I probably would have gone for full bodied instead of light bodied, so I would have mashed higher than I did, which I think was 66. Yeah, there we go. That's the recipe anyway. This is the beer. Like I say, unfortunately not as much carbonation as it had before. Not noticing any oxidation, which, considering these are not the proper Cooper's PET bottles, and yes, the competition wanted plastic bottles, simply because when you're sending a load of boxes full of bottles around, the difference between 20 of the plastic bottles and 20 of the glass ones is A, a lot cheaper postage, and B, a lot less mess. They just don't break, they bounce. All in all, the brew day went fine. I didn't have any problems with the brew day. Pretty standard. Quite happy with how it went. It went into the fermenter, which in this case I just used a plastic bucket. I didn't have a lot of time. Everyone else was in lockdown. I was working twice as hard as usual because a lot of our clients are major news sources and major news companies, and everyone was hitting all the major news companies, so we were under quite a bit of pressure at the time. It got into the plastic fermenter and it stayed there for 5 weeks in a plastic fermenter because I just didn't have time to package it. I ended up packaging it more or less at the last minute, sending it off. Everyone's beers arrived at the hubs, everyone's beers got sent out. We all ended up with 17 other beers plus ours. And over the next 5 or 6 weeks, we had great fun meeting up every week, all drinking a couple of the bottles of the beer together, sharing our impressions. Sometimes we had one of the judges come along as well. Up until the last one, where we were just left with 2 foreign extra stouts, my one and Steve's. Steve, who was the organizer of the competition from the Anglian side. We didn't plan it that way. It just worked out that the 2 club organizers ended up going head to head on the same style on the last week of the competition. So we drank foreign extras, and then one of the judges gave us all the results. And then we could all download all our feedback sheets from all the judges for all the beers. So pen the tape, but I've just hidden judges' names and email addresses just for privacy reasons. Okay. Now this was 3 experienced judges, and I've got to be honest, I'm amazed how close they all came. Normally, when you judge a beer competition, you are sat across the table from your colleague doing the judging with you. You get a chance to talk about you fill in the sheet, then you get a chance to talk about it, compare your scores, make sure that they're fairly in line with each other. But this was all judged virtually. The judges had no contact between each other. They all got a different bottle of beer that had been posted out and may have been in different conditions and all that sort of thing. So the 3 scores it got was a 38 out of 50, 41 and 45. And I am very happy with that. For a style I've never ever brewed before, I've not done any, like normally you brew a beer, see what it comes out like, tweak the recipe a bit and brew it again. It's had none of that because it's the first time I've ever brewed it. The 38 puts it right at the bottom of the excellent range. The 45 puts it into outstanding range. So I'm very happy with that. Some of the judges' feedback, what I'll do, I won't read out all the comments because they're quite a bit detailed there, but I will read out the recommendations for each one. And I'll put the sheets up on the screen so you can have a look, pause it and read all the details if you want. So from the first judge, who gave it 38, it's an excellent example of the style. It needs a little bit more recipe fine-tuning. A bit more specialty malt-driven complexity in the aroma and flavour, and perhaps a touch of extra dark crystal malt might bring that. And I agree. Some extra dark crystal malt would indeed bring a bit more complexity there. I don't know what temperature they were judged at because it was judged by 3 judges in their own home. Personal thoughts, I'd say perhaps that one was judged a little bit too cold, simply because drinking it at cellar temperature, there is, I don't see any shortage of complexity there. The comment then all goes on to, it was also very slightly sweet for the style. My only concern with that would be if it was already slightly sweet for the style, using more extra dark malt would have probably made it even sweeter. But your mileage may vary. I appreciate all the feedback and I will bear it in mind because I am going to brew this beer again. It's that good. The second one, which judged as 41, a very good beer, a very good quality beer that meets the guidelines well. Bring a little more body by mashing higher or increasing the percentage of the base malt. The roasted malt elements are just fine. A very enjoyable beer. Bringing a little fruitiness into the aroma, like what was detected in the flavours, would also bode well. Very enjoyable beer. So, yeah, that was 41 out of 50. And the 45, this, sorry, where are we? 45 was that one. I can certainly send my beer to this judge again. A well-crafted beer, easy and pleasurable to drink, complex and with layers of flavour, roast coffee and malty sweetness. No improvement needed. Can I have the recipe and the process, please? So there you go. 3 judges all seem to think it was a very worthy beer. If you fancy trying a foreign extra stout, trying to brew one, this may be one to brew. Like I said, the recipe's up on the screen earlier. I'll put it down in the description as well, a link to it, so you can give it a go if you want. Anyway, hopefully, now the finger's healing up. I just don't trust it not to rip apart again yet because basically I ended up cutting right round it and cutting straight through 2 nerves. Hopefully, if it keeps healing up the rate it has, I'll be able to get back brewing again soon. I just don't want to be lifting up 30, 40 kilo things full of wet grain whilst I don't trust the strength of that finger at the moment. And when I do, I should get back to some other videos for you. Anyway, all the best, and I hope to catch you soon.
Remember to hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching Daft Cat Brewing.